Late in the season, press conferences stop being about football and start being about leadership. That's when every word gets weighed differently because people aren't listening for answers anymore. They're listening for signals. The Jets have just lost 42-10 at home to the New England Patriots. This was a rough loss in a season that has already tested patience. New York Jets head coach Aaron Glenn steps to the podium not just as a head coach, but as a first-year head coach under pressure with a fan base looking for accountability.
And man, I always talk about how we come out and we play with effort. Today was probably the one time I feel like our effort wasn't as good as I would want to be. And that's just me not BSing you guys, just being on this. I didn't think the effort was where it needed to be.
That word effort wasn't pulled out of him by a reporter. He offered it freely, calmly, and early. In press room terms, that means he wanted effort to be the starting point of the story. On the surface, effort sounds like leadership. It sounds like honesty, standards, and accountability. Most fans hear that and think someone is finally telling the truth. But in the press room, the word effort is never neutral language. It separates preparation from execution. And once you make that separation, responsibility starts sliding in a very specific direction.
But today, I didn't see the effort that I felt like we needed to go out there and compete at a high level.
This is important. When a word gets repeated, it stops being emotional and starts being intentional. At this point, effort isn't a comment, it's the explanation.
You didn't think the effort was there. How is the strategy? How are the X's and O's today?
This question isn't random. It's a pressure release valve. It gives the coach a chance to move responsibility away from players and back toward coaching. This is the pivot point. This is where a coach can rebalance the narrative if he wants to. Listen closely to what Glenn does instead.
I actually thought that we had a really good plan going to this game. I really did, on both sides and on special teams. And those guys went on, they made plays. I give those guys credit. They made plays. They for their defense, they hit our quarterback quite a bit, and they made plays on the ball quite a bit. Their offense, man, their quarterback, and I've said this for a long time, he's playing at a high level. And, man, they caught some balls on us in man-to-man coverage that, you give them credit for. The ball that Diggs caught, over Stiggs, I mean, that was just a hell of a play by him. On some of our young guys in the back end, they made hell of a plays. We missed some tackles that we shouldn't miss, right? That also showed up. So I don't want to say it's truly the X and O's. I just think their guys made plays. And that's what this game is about, fellas. I mean, playmakers make plays, and those guys made more plays than us.
By publicly saying the plan was good, Glenn protects the scheme and the staff. Once that happens, accountability has fewer places left to land, and effort becomes the headline by default. I want you to notice what didn't happen. No one challenged the framing. No one followed up with whether effort ultimately reflects coaching. In the press room, silence isn't passive. Silence confirms framing. When no one disrupts the narrative, it becomes usable exactly as stated. Calling out effort works when you're winning. When you're losing, especially as a first-year head coach, it sounds like blame, whether it's intended or not. Press conferences don't end at the podium. What gets said here travels forward into the week and shapes the next set of questions. Don't be surprised when players are asked about their effort later on. They're not just answering for themselves. They're responding to what their coach already put into the room. This wasn't a one-score loss. This was part of a stretch of blowouts, which is when locker rooms stop hearing words and start feeling them.
I'm upset with the effort, but I'm also upset with us as coaches too, though.
You can hear Glenn trying to rebalance the message. He's already put responsibility on the players, and now he's bringing responsibility back to the coaches. But at this point, the narrative in the room has already been set. When it comes to the media, the first explanation always travels farther than anything that comes after it. Glenn isn't necessarily correcting himself here. He's clarifying and adding context. But by that point, the narrative is already moving forward. This wasn't yelling. This wasn't frustration spilling over. That's what makes it revealing. Measured language sounds deliberate, and deliberate language gets taken seriously by players, media, and front offices alike. Publicly questioning your team's effort is a leadership decision, not just a quote. It sends a clear message into the locker room, whether it's meant to or not. This wasn't about one sentence or one game. It was about timing, authority, and a first-year head coach choosing his words under pressure. If you only take one thing away from this video, let it be this. In the press room, words aren't just answers. They signal where responsibility is being placed, how coverage will be framed, and what questions come next. This is Press Room Breakdown, where we slow the room down and study how the message gets made.